A few moments with you on the pew, pew, pew.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Pew. My name's Matthew,
And I'm Oliver.
and today we have Lily with us. Lily, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. I am from Cebus, Columbus, Ohio. I am the first child of a wonderful family. I'm half Irish, half Puerto Rican. Lots of culture, lots of love, lots of just fun times. I'm a sophomore, and I'm a health science pre-PT exercise movement science major.
And we know Lily. She's just a mutual friend of ours. I don't really know the context of it. I don't really. Do you have anything to add there?
Yeah, she was my retreat leader on the Rise retreat. And just like a mutual friend, someone see at events and just stuff like that.
So thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Yeah.
Yeah, so we heard that you wanted to talk a little bit about hope.
Yes.
And just kind of wondering, like, we hear, the word hope a lot, but are there, like, concepts or, like, other words that you kind of, like, associate with the word hope? Like,
Yeah, so for me, when I think of the word hope, the first thing I think of is heaven. Like, hope, heaven. And when I think of heaven, I think of eternity. And when I think of eternity, I just think of life with Christ, love, just the meaning of life in general, and just this yearning passion to live a life of hope in heaven for eternity with Christ.
And, like, what do you think this hope can, like, lead to?
So hope can lead to many things, like no matter what you want it to lead to necessarily, but in the end, it'll always come back to just your salvation, love, and just a greater understanding of what hope can be for you in the future, now, the past. So, like, not only what does hope lead to, but what does it come from? So, something that I always think about is when I was younger, I'd always hope for a Hot Wheel or a Barbie dream house, although I did never get one. I did get a cool like RV camper Barbie van though with like a hot tub in the back. It's pretty sweet. But I also like hoped for a yummy dinner or something from Panera. And I was like, so what does that lead to? What is that hope like leading to in terms of my future? So instead of a yummy dinner, I now hope I can provide a dinner for my family in the future. Instead of a new Hot Wheel, like I hope I one day am in a financially stable environment that God has given me the love, the grace, the invitation to provide a car, like for my family, like those types of things. What like innocent hope as a child, like now leads to as an adult.
Yeah.
and where do you think, like, this hope or, like, this desire, like, comes from within us?
I guess it depends where you are. I think hope is something that everybody has. It's not necessarily a religious idea. It is because you think of faith, hope, love slash charity, but I think hope is something that every single person has and can have throughout their entire life, and that's why it's like so important to have hope. But for me, hope comes from adoration and like just adoring and the love I have for Christ and the love I see from Christ through like other people.
Yeah, and you said, like, for you, like, you gave the example of, like, adoration. Are there any other examples, like, for you personally, where you find hope?
Yeah, I gotta say, my first ever Stuart Hill sunset was probably like an immense feeling of hope that now whenever I go to see the sunset, it's just like that idea and imagine that 10 times greater as like sitting in heaven waiting for Christ to like meet him in heaven.
Yeah, awesome. And, like, why do you think, or, like, for you, why is hope so important?
I would say hope is important because, like I said, hope is something everybody can have. But personally, for me, hope's important because I would say there's been times in my life where I've been in and out of how or if I want faith in my life. So I've always had this gut feeling of like, oh, I hope this happens. ABC, 1, 2, 3, XYZ. I don't know, like anything that could happen. But then now, the more that I think of it, it's like the Holy Spirit and Christ just like asking, pulling me back into life and communion with Him to then have hope. So like He was always there, but I just never interpreted as what hope meant. But it could be something else entirely for someone who say isn't in a religious sense.
And I guess like how would you like recommend somebody trying to like tap back into that hope or like experience that hope? Like is there a method or a way that you would like recommend as like a good like medium to that?
Yeah, honestly, the best way I find it is just being vulnerable, and by finding the ways that you can be vulnerable with yourself or with other people, in prayer, or like I said, adoration is how I find hope in my life. But other people can find hope simply by going on a walk, looking at nature, going to the zoo. I don't know, just like simple things that people find joy in that can lead them to hope for more.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I heard that you wanted to walk us through a little guided meditation sort of practice, prayer practice.
Yeah, yes, I do. Let me walk to it. So I invite you guys and people that are watching to just center yourself, close your eyes if you'd like to, just be in a state of prayer and in a state of realizing where hope has the opportunity to come into your life. So imagine you're in a field. You turn your head, and there are flowers of all colors to your left. You look the other way and see musical instruments far off on your right. You look behind you and see the choir of angels in the distance. In this field, you are standing there between the grasses with the wind blowing into your face, causing you to look forward. You look before you and you see a figure far off on the other side of the field. The most perfect silhouette. You begin to think, who could that be? You then see him much clearer. You see Jesus with his arms spread wide, awaiting you to join his embrace. You then start to hear music playing, the faintest whisper of a sound you have ever heard. You start walking toward him, intrigued by his silhouette. As you start walking, the music gradually gets louder. The closer you get to Christ, the louder the music becomes. This music is bringing you not only closer to him, but to immense peace. You start running, sprinting through the field, to get to the source of this peace even sooner. You get to him. The faint whisper you first heard is now the most perfect sound one can hear. You immediately jump into his presence, with arms stretched out wide. Imagine your feelings inside during that embrace. Is it a warm hug? A bear hug? A long hug? The imagery you just created in your head is a type of hope. I never told you exactly the kind of flowers, or what types of instruments were there, or even what music was playing. Those were things that you hoped for. Then when you got to Christ, it was your hope and desire that led your imagination to what Christ looks like to you, or what his presence could be like. What's better than the hope of the embracement and communion with Christ? I am not by any means a scholar or someone who can tell you what hope is to you, but what I can give you is a perspective and how I view hope. Hope is beautiful. It leads us to better things. It leads us to heaven. Next time you're at adoration or in prayer, close your eyes. and imagine yourself running toward him. Amen. It's my little hope run through.
Yeah. Thank you so much. That was
Sharing that.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was actually talking to my cousin. I was like, yeah, I'm giving a talk on hope. I've given a talk on hope before. I think I was a senior or a junior, and it was to that current class of confirmandi. So I was talking to her, and I was just like, yeah, this is like a little run through of like what I want to do, what I want to say. And afterwards, my cousin just couldn't stop smiling, and she was in awe. And all she could think about was how much she just wanted to hug Christ. Like, that's all she could think about. And I was like, there, if that's like what you get after listening about, I don't know, 3 people talking about hope, then that's perfect. I don't know. That's my hot take. But
Yeah. Is there anything else you'd like to share about hope or anything else on your heart?
I brought this with me. It's so in 2020 I was a part of a Lenten devotional in high school. We called it Donuts and Devotions. We would get together every Saturday morning, 10 to noon. We'd get like donuts from the town next over, and it'd just be like super fun, super nice, just a time. Only girls, like at this time. Boys would have their own Lenten devotional. I don't think they got donuts though, but that's just them. But we actually did it was just so fun. It was just, so we did a devotional through Emily Wilson, and one week it was about the hemorrhaging woman. And I was just like so inspired by this. I was like, this is crazy. What are the odds that like we're shut down? I'm sitting in my room on a Zoom call. Like, what do I need right now? Hope. Like, I was just like, so it was crazy. So I do want to read that and this Bible passage, and just because some people relate more to Bible passages than they do to someone talking. But yeah, and then yeah, so I'll just read Mark chapter 5 verse 25 through 34. Now there was a woman who had been suffering from hemorrhages for 12 years. She had endured much under many physicians, and had spent all that she had, and she was no better, but rather grew worse. She had heard about Jesus and came up behind him in the crowd and touched his cloak. For she said, "If I but touch his clothes, I will be made well." Immediately her hemorrhage stopped, and she felt in her body that she was healed of her disease. Immediately aware that power had gone forth from him, Jesus turned around in the crowd and said, "Who touched my clothes?" And his disciples said to him, "You see the crowd pressing in on you. How can you say, 'Who touched me?'" He looked all around to see who had done it. But the woman, knowing what had happened to her, came in fear and trembling, fell down before him, and told him the truth. He said to her, "Daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace and be healed of your disease." So just from this, I guess the biggest takeaway is someone who in life was struggling and had every desire to be healed, she went forth and found Christ. She spent all that she had. Yeah. Something to look up to. Something to hope for one day, to be someone who lives their life in desire for Christ.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for everything you shared today. I especially like the reflection. It was very cool. But to kind of shift gears a little bit, we have a few hot seat questions. Are you ready?
I am ready.
Okay. First question. Red Lobster or Red Robin?
I don't think I've ever had either.
Okay.
But I might have had Red Robin before. I've definitely never had Red Lobster.
Okay. Worst place on your body to get a rash?
a rash in general. I don't know. Rashes are not fun.
Yeah, I agree. Favorite color?
Ooh. I have to say my favorite color is black. It's just like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, it's my
Emo.
favorite color. I mean, I'm wearing
yeah,
black.
you
'Cause
are.
I love
Yeah.
it's a good, it's like you look at it and sometimes you think like emotions like emo, but
Yeah.
you're like, imagine the beauty.
Mm.
You know? I don't know.
Yeah. Favorite book that you've read ever?
Ooh. Um, if you give a pig a pancake.
Wow.
Oh,
Not what I was
insightful.
expecting.
Um,
I don't know.
Select one: faith, hope, or love.
I'd have to say love. I love hope, but I'd have to say love.
Fair. Favorite like church that you've been to or visited?
In terms of what? Like,
You've liked the most. I don't
okay,
know.
like during the mass or it's the most prettiest?
Whatever you
Okay.
like.
I have to be biased and say my church at home. But in terms of pretty churches, the Basilica in Washington, D.C. is very beautiful.
Mm.
Yes, I'd have to say.
Awesome. Country you want to visit the most?
It's between, I'd say, Greece and Argentina.
Worst candle scent?
Okay, so fun fact, I'm kind of allergic to candles.
Oh.
So,
Like-
like, just like the smells,
What do you mean by allergic?
like, achoo! like,
Like it's not the smoke. Like you're not just.
well, I'm also allergic to, like, kind of like that, like, smoke. Not allergic in the sense, but just, like, it irritates me.
Mm.
But
Anything else you're allergic to?
outside.
Oh.
I'm allergic to my dog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. But like,
Yeah.
what's the worst?
Oh, the
candle
worst
scent?
one? Well, I think that just is. I don't really smell candles. But I'd have to
We
say,
have like 4 candles in this room. Good.
I
Do
don't
you want to
know.
like sniff the candles? And
No.
At least favorite.
Okay, I'm allergic to candles when they're like burning.
So then what's the worst candle scent?
I don't
When it's
know.
not burning.
Okay, we'll leave it at
I don't know.
all of the above.
All of the above, yes.
Favorite saint?
Mary. She's my confirmation saint.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Okay, last question I have is Rainbow Loom or $5 footlong?
Rainbow Loom. I wasn't allowed to have
Mm.
Subway growing up.
What?
Really?
Yeah.
What is?
And like I used to make Starbursts and like the Minion Rainbow Loom. So like
Whoa.
I was like, we used to get together
Did you, like, sell
outside.
'em? Did you sell
No,
'em?
but like we had like a club in the backyard.
No
Whoa.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The more you know.
way. Yeah.
Well, that's all we have on the hot seat for
Yeah.
you today. But thank you, Lily, for coming on today with us, for your support of this whole podcast from day one. And yeah, for just
Yeah.
sharing everything about hope.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's more to talk about when it comes to hope, but I don't have all the answers. But hopefully this leads you to look to more.
We hope so.
We hope
We
so.
hope.
Don't we?
Yep.
All right. Well, we'll see you guys next week.
Pew, 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 pew.